This is the 2017 RT60. And this is the 2008 ASV PT60. And in this video, I'm going to show you the difference between the two. But first, we have to warm them up. In this episode, we're going to discuss the difference between the 2017 RT60 and the 2008 ASV PT60. And we can discuss the differences and also have a look at each machine and how they work. Okay, so first off, this is the ASV RT60. Basically the updated version from the PT60 now. ASV sold their track skid steer division to T-Rex, and they had it for a few years, and then ASV ended up buying it back from them for whatever reason. But basically this is the transition from the original ASV machines. In between would be the T-Rex, and then obviously we have the, when the ASV took it back over, they renamed everything RT. Not sure how the naming came about, but we're going to see the differences between the original one and the new one. So these are basically identical machines. There's not a whole lot different. They have the exact same engine, which is the 2.2 4-cylinder turbo diesel Perkins engine, and basically not much has changed as far as the engine. Now the only other changes are the pumps. So the hydraulic pumps that are mounted down behind the engine, down low in the machine, that pump hydraulic fluid to the motors on each side. If you switch from second to first, you'll feel that it's a little bit more pronounced. There's a little more torque involved, and that's the big difference between the newer RT60. I think they have a different pump or a control system that smooths out the shifting, because when you hit second gear in this machine, you don't feel the jerkiness. Now, by saying that, I still think, from using these two machines quite a bit, I still think the older one has a little bit more torquier, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually faster than this machine here. Now, the obvious differences that stand out between these two machines is the counterweight. ASV added extra counterweight. It increases the lifting capability just enough. So when you're lifting, well, there's my skid of bricks. My skids of brick are over here. I store them here. And this machine really doesn't have a problem picking up a skid of brick, and it might even double stack your typical pavers for your interlock driveway. But this one, and it's not much, it's maybe only 200 pounds difference lifting capacity, but that does make a big difference. Now this machine has the quick attach, and this one has a manual quick attach, so you have to lift the levers up. That's the only regret I have buying this particular machine, is that it has the manual ones. Now it's not a deal breaker by any means, and there's a pro that you're not going to break any hydraulic lines in here, but if you need to switch a bucket to your set of forks to pick up your skid of brick, you have to get somebody to manually do that for you, or get out of the cab and do it. There's virtually no difference in the hydraulic flow. They both do 21 gallons per minute. They both have 2 speeds. There was an RT60 that's before the PT60, and it's only single speed. So if you're buying a used machine, make sure you're getting the PT60. And there's also the PT50, identical machine, but doesn't have the turbo and the 2 speeds. Now you'll see the difference right off the bat. One of the bigger differences are these intermediate bogey wheels. These use the bigger bearings, same as the rear ones. And if you look at the PT60, they use a 1 inch, I believe it's 1 inch, could be 2 inch trailer bearing, and you'll see that they're the smaller wheels. And there's the bigger one on the back. Now, ASV upgraded these because what had happened, there's a washer in behind the wheel, and we can look at that into more depth if you want. Just put a comment below and I'll tell you why they upgraded to these and what they missed, because these are all my original wheels. I haven't changed one. They've fallen off, but I've picked them up off the ground and we're able to reuse them and reseal them, and I can show you how to do that if you own one of these machines. The other thing is the motor here has an external hub. So if you're buying one used, look for this here. You want it perfectly flat. If it's bulging out, that means the bearings, there's a bearing in here and it's dried up and it's then popping out, and this is ready to fail. And if this fails, then you're replacing this, and I'll have a great tip for these as well. So keep that in mind. The RT65, you can see they did away with the bearing, and they got rid of all that extra casing in there, which was just collecting dirt, was a big problem with that. Now these are an oiled hub, and you will have to service these. I haven't had any issues with either that one or this one as far as the motors. They're both, on both machines, have the original motors, and I've heard horror stories where these things leak. I haven't experienced that on either one yet, but I try to keep my fluid changed, and I think that makes a big difference. And you can see these aren't trailer bearings, so you would need a press to pop these bearings out and change them. I'm not looking forward to that, but they also, you'll have less issues with them and have to do them less. So I think that's the upside. Now you can notice these here bogey wheels are the same, and also these are rubber here compared to these. And what I do is it's an upgrade. It's hard to see because they're covered in snow, but these are alloy aluminum, and also the back ones are aluminum. You can change them all to aluminum. I don't think it's necessary because, well, these work fine. They also add a little bit of dampening for ground. I think the metal ones would be a harder ride, but the reason why you switch to these is if you're using chunky chunks of granite and they get jammed in here in between the track, you'll take chunks out of these wheels. You may not notice it from the outside, but if you look on the inside, and I've replaced both inners and outers, and also, well, I bought the machine with these, but I'm sure they're an upgrade as well. So I will do the upgrade to the other machine here. The other thing is to keep in mind if you're buying an old machine, the PT60, these pins that come out to hold the ram are all 1 inch. And on the RT60, they upgraded the diameter to like 1.5 inch, and that's a big improvement. But if you're buying an older PT60, what you want to look for is right in here. If you look, there's a pin in here. Now, they have a tendency, you can't see it from this side, but if you look inside with a flashlight inside here, and I'll flash a picture up to show you the difference, what had to be done. We had to weld, it cracks here because it's a weak point on the inside, and we had to weld that up on this machine. And had I known the upgrade, which is done on this machine here, they actually added a tube in here to strengthen that hole to take the load out. So that's an upgrade on these machines here, and that's a big difference, I would think, if you're going to go from the older to the new machine. But if you're buying an old one, they're great machines. These don't, the performance is almost identical. In fact, obviously this machine without the extra counterweight on the back is lighter. Now, if you look here, this is the fuse box, and this is the weak link in the wiring harness. I covered the fuse box with a garbage bag and tied a knot into it. I actually took the fuse box off, wrapped that garbage bag in there, and that keeps any moisture from corroding the terminals. It looks good from the top side, but it's underneath. It's exposed. And you want the 10-cent bag will prevent the fuse box from corroding, because that's an issue I had with this machine. I had to change the entire wiring harness, and I haven't had any wiring issues since I put the bag on. And I also did it to the RT60 because this is a downside to the older machines. They didn't protect this well enough. One of the things, again, that these older ones have are the trailer hitch. They have one in the front and the back. I want to get one of these on my RT65, the new one. And okay, so other than the decals, they're practically the same machine. It's inside where there's a few differences. So these machines here have the upgraded seat. So there's it's not air ride, but it has the shock in it, and you can adjust the weight. The controls are identical compared to the other machine. In fact, everything. It was a great machine. They didn't have to improve much. Everything's pretty much the same except for the seat. And again, this machine did not come with it, the retractable seat belt, which the PT60 has the retractable seat belt. It actually came with one. So I actually took that part number, and you've seen my other videos. You know I like this rather than the floppy belt that gets all dirty. The only other difference is the RT60 has that second speed light, which if you see, I've taken the lens out so you can actually see the light. That's that rabbit thing I was telling you about. They also dropped one of the gauges in there, and to be honest with you, the gauges in the PT60 are by far superior. The fuel gauge isn't as accurate, and in fact, it's not very good in this machine. It feels like you're going through more fuel than you are. And I end up running this much later into the red just to make sure you maximize your fuel. I just go by the hours now just to make sure I'm maximizing my fuel. These have the heater. That's all you get for a heater. They work good. They'll burn they don't burn your leg, but they keep your legs really warm, and then you can just warm your hands up off that. It does an okay job. It doesn't, as you can see, it doesn't defrost. Okay, we'll run over to the PT60. It's a little sticky because of the, as you can see, they got this basic seat in the PT60. Now you could upgrade, I'm sure you could upgrade this seat with a newer one, but they're about $1,000, or in American money probably $600 to $700 or $800. But you can see this one actually came, and this is the original seat belt, and look how clean that is. It still works great, and it's you know, we're going into 11, 12 years with this seat, and that works great. So I've taken that part number and I put them in all my machines because I can't live without that. It's basically, this one has a padding. I've taken it or removed that because this is where you access the filters for the hydraulic system, and you also top it up. You just pull these back. I also had, well, there's one here, but I've taken this one off because I had to replace this little magnet. Now, and you can see on the gauges here, the older machines, you got your RPM gauge, you've got your temp gauge, which I don't believe the other one has. It has light instead. Or is it the temp gauge it has? Yeah. And then this is the gas gauge. This is very accurate, has a gas light as well. And also the 2-speed light is in here, which is easy to see. These all have the pedal, but they're all mechanical. See, there's no computers in this machine. So you have your lever, which is just pushing down on that pedal or that pedal. So that's your controls. It's pretty basic. This operates the machine forward, backwards, left and right. And this is your bucket, up, down, and tilt, and that way. Basic machine. I think this one, we'll have to test it out. I think this one's actually faster than all the machines I have. Maybe because of the older pumps they had in them, maybe ran a little faster. I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe it's lighter. Okay, so thanks for watching. If you like these types of videos, please like and subscribe below.